and to imply that we should just ignore the impact that Caitlin Clark had on this team, this league, this sport. Nah, it doesn't work that way.
After basketball superstar Sue Bird changed her opinion about Caitlin Clark, the WNBA went crazy.
Sue Bird calls out ESPN host for, quote, hating on WNBA playoff ratings after Caitlin Clark's exit. You say, what? Why?
That's correct. Sue Bird, a former Caitlin supporter, criticized Stephen A. Smith, claiming that the WNBA is doing just well without Clark. Caitlin may move to Europe, but she is currently enjoying a lovely break. However, Sue believes the numbers are still on a massive scale, which is untrue.
Racism has been impacting the WNBA well before this year. This is not a new thing. Sure. This is, and in that way, I do think Caitlin's being used as a pawn. Caitlin didn't bring racism to the WNBA. This has been happening, and that, I think, is what's been such a shock for all of us.
Sue was supporting Caitlin at the time, but it appears that she has had enough because Caitlin's absence has caused a stir on social media, with fans demanding her return and refusing to watch anymore. WNBA.
Viewership numbers with Caitlin Clark are astronomical. She is a big draw. She brings in all the things. And yes, the games where she's not playing have lower viewership. But in the WNBA playoff are still breaking records from previous WNBA years.
Without Caitlin, the WNBA is declining and returning to reality in every game that has been played. We've seen a drop in viewership without Caitlin, but Sue thinks her absence from basketball won't have any negative effects.
But they don't want it to grow if it's certain people at the face. And there is still this undertone of jealousy that for some reason I cannot get around calling it anything else but that, because I don't know what else it could be. I thought it was going to get better this season, but it hasn't. There are still people who seemingly, to me, feel like they just don't want Caitlin to be a part of it.
Rachel DEA raised an excellent point. WNBA legends would prefer to start again than deal with the competition that Caitlin brings. Thus, they don't want the sport to advance while she is the face.
What's the problem, Sue Bird? I know that you gave her props and you acknowledged how phenomenal she was in terms of a draw. What Shannon Sharp and I were guilty of saying was that not enough folks were appreciating it.
Caitlin Clark's tenure in the WNBA was nothing short of revolutionary, but as soon as she left the playoffs, it seemed as though the league had died. With growing whispers about Europe, the league may be in serious peril. In her early remarks, WNBA legend Sue Bird had nothing but admiration for Caitlin Clark. Bird had been a vocal advocate of Clark, believing that she was a player who could improve the game. Sue Bird saw that Caitlin Clark had the potential to transform women's basketball and wasn't just another rookie.
4. Moved home games to bigger arenas when Indiana came to town to accommodate more fans. I'm not finished. Attendance for the entire league is up nearly 50% this year, and Indiana leads all teams with an average attendance of 17,035, up 319% from a year ago.
However, things took a surprising turn when Sue Bird started downplaying Clark's impact. This was unexpected, especially from someone who had previously spoken so highly of Clark. Suddenly, Bird was saying that Caitlin Clark's presence hadn't made much of a difference to WNBA viewership despite the overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Bird appeared to suggest that the league's recent struggles had little to do with Clark's absence. This abrupt shift in Bird's opinion left many fans confused and even outraged. Stephen A. Smith, who has consistently supported Caitlin Clark. Smith has never shied away from controversy, and when Clark left the playoffs, he was ready to voice his opinions. Smith didn't hold back when he said that Clark's absence had destroyed the playoff anticipation.
Let's just say the ratings aren't the same with Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever now eliminated. Game 1 of the Aces Liberty matchup on Sunday drew an average of 929,000 viewers. Was down nearly 50% from last Sunday's Fever Sun contest. By the way, not only was viewership down, but attendance was as well.
For Smith, it wasn't just about one player leaving the game. It was about the WNBA losing its biggest attraction. He emphasized that the league needed to acknowledge how crucial Clark was to their success by pointing out how viewership had drastically decreased since her departure. Smith's position wasn't just a casual observation, it was a call to action. He felt that the WNBA needed to do more to elevate players like Clark and maintain the momentum, but Sue Bird wasn't having it. She publicly criticized Stephen A. Smith for his remarks, claiming that he was incorrect to attribute the drop in playoff viewership to Caitlin Clark's absence alone. Bird retorted that there were other factors at work and that the excitement surrounding the playoffs wasn't dependent on one player. Bird's response to Smith's assertions provoked a contentious discussion in which supporters and experts took sides. On the other hand, Stephen A. Smith thought that the hype surrounding the playoffs was mostly due to Caitlin Clark. Legendary player Sue Bird maintained that the WNBA was more than any one player, even one with Clark's level of influence.
A lot of this noise came by people that were sitting on this network. They tried to minimize her, said, well, you giving her all this credit. What about the women that came before her? What the women came before her, what they did cannot be taken away. That ain't got nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. But there was a lot of people tried to make sure they keep Caitlin Clark in her place because what you're doing, if you give her all this shine, you minimize what they done. We saw the ratings. We saw the merchandise sales. We saw the attendance. But y'all want to make it about something else.
Sue Bird continued to challenge Stephen A. Smith. She strengthened her position and refused to acknowledge that Caitlin Clark's absence was the main reason for the WNBA's decline in viewership, even as ratings fell after Clark's departure. Bird insisted that there were other reasons for the decline, which infuriated many fans who had been closely following the playoffs. Fans noted that the excitement surrounding the games had significantly decreased after Clark's departure, and it was difficult to ignore the
Caitlin Clark has created more buzz around the basketball landscape and has actually transformed and revived a league that was the WNBA, and she is getting paid a measly $28 million.
Bird's refusal to acknowledge Caitlin Clark's influence caused many fans who had been drawn to the WNBA because of Clark's performances to feel alienated by the very legends they had once admired. The fact that Bird, who had once been seen as a mentor figure to younger players, was now downplaying Clark's significance was troubling to many, raising questions about whether the WNBA was ready to evolve or if it was stuck in the past, unwilling to fully embrace the next generation of stars. One of the most perplexing parts of this whole scenario has been the WNBA's unwillingness to acknowledge Caitlin Clark's influence. It was evident that Clark was unique as soon as she joined the league.
Don't y'all want a greater profile? Don't y'all want more notoriety? Don't y'all want more hype? I understand that it's going on still without her now that she's out of the playoffs because the games have been great. But the fact of the matter is she swelled the interest in the sport.
Her games drew large crowds. Despite all of this, the WNBA seemed reluctant to fully embrace the Caitlin Clark effect. Whether it was because of internal politics, jealousy from other players, or a simple refusal to acknowledge her star power, the league failed to capitalize on the wave of interest that Clark brought to the league and instead seemed content to let her rise on her own without the full support of its promotional machine. This oversight would prove costly as the league's viewership numbers began to fall apart once Clark left the playoffs.
The Caitlin Clark effect is definitely real. I mean, we can all see that. However, experiencing it in person is totally different. I was at the Fever in Indiana game last night, and the amount of 22s that I saw on the way to the arena and inside the Capital One Arena might as well have just been a home game for Caitlin Clark. Not Indiana, Caitlin Clark. The thing is, that didn't surprise me. But what did surprise me was how packed the game was.
The WNBA lost out on a chance to expand its viewership and cement its position in the sports world by failing to properly acknowledge the Caitlin Clark effect. As a result, its ratings are currently falling. Dissatisfied supporters and a lack of excitement surrounding its major events, the league is in a risky situation that could be challenging to overcome because of its unwillingness to accept Clark's star power. Stephen A. Smith continues to be one of Caitlin Clark's most outspoken advocates. Others, however, have minimized or completely disregarded her efforts. Smith has continuously criticized Clark for what he perceives to be an agenda. Smith has discussed how the league appears to treat Clark differently than other players, whether it be through on-court targeting or a lack of off-court promotion. He has also discussed how opponents have singled Clark out, targeted him with fouls, and ignored him in terms of league-wide recognition.
Stephen A., respectfully, with your platform, you could have been doing this 3 years ago if you wanted to.
All right, we gotta go.
Stephen A., I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you.
Wow.
Don't do that. I'm talking to you about the power that you have.
Really
You
appreciate
missed, my girl, but you've missed a lot of episodes of First Take.
As the controversy surrounding Caitlin Clark's treatment in the WNBA intensifies, many of her supporters are starting to advocate for her to leave the league entirely. They contend that Clark would be better off playing in the EuroLeague, where she would probably receive more respect and better financial opportunities in Europe. Fans believe that Clark's talents would be fully appreciated and she wouldn't have to deal with the constant targeting and mistreatment she faces in the WNBA. This movement is getting louder by the day.